Taking aside, got the diet roll, whatever, and with crappy Nearchus as their option, yeah, let him try to do whatever he can. He had kind of a scattered force here. Well, he moved and launched a couple of elephants, one to pin this elephant, and one to launch an attack into the rear of the phalanx there. So that's actually a pretty potent potential outcome. Let's see what happens. Just routed one of the hypopsists and didn't get, yeah, had a standoff with the other elephant. He won a momentum check, and I may want to trump that shit. The problem is I'm not great at trumping anything. We might have a momentum, we may have no momentums for anyone in the line very shortly, simply because, and that may not be such a bad result, simply because I want to go with my best leader, my 6, Minis. Because I don't want this elephant coming in and hitting that elephant. I don't know if it's worth it. Screw it. Like, I don't think Nurturus can do that much damage. That elephant's too far away. And this is not an elephant, it's just a skirmisher, so definitely not. That was kind of exciting. Let me put a red die near his 4s to remind me. Oh, he's got 3 of them. I didn't realize that. I don't think that's, I think I've been following it correctly, but I didn't realize he had 3. So this guy is ferrying his elephants up. And again, yes, I could have moved forward and done something with some of my cav, but I feel like the elephants are a bigger deal, because if I can get those elephants up, they can take care of this cav, or at least cause it a lot of problems. And then my cav is free to hit the flank of Antigonus. But Hippocrates here got his action, and I did something kind of weird. I pushed a couple of units forward. Well, basically, I was hoping to hit the ass of an elephant, but it ran away. So I'm like, okay, well, let me hit this. Well, there's a leader with a high charisma there, which kind of sucks. It means I'm going to get the worst die roll possible. Well, I'm going to get a -4 to my die roll. He also has this is Eumenes, he also has a high combat value, although it seems to drop with being fatigued, doesn't it? No, I was misreading it. I thought it was much higher. I thought it was a 5. I'm like, I damn well don't want to fight that, but I'm still, would have been outmatched. So I'm like, well, let's see what happens. And I did some skirmishing type action, running forward, shooting, running back. It's all abstracted. Because I can't do anything with this elephant, who I would have really liked to get out of there and maybe push more of my line forward, hit those weaker hoplites, and start crushing stuff, but I've got garbage in my way, and I'm not allowed to move the garbage. He's not allowed to move elephants. I think this guy isn't either, so everybody who's near that elephant can't do shit about it except for my top commander. So what happened was I got lucky and got the 1 in 10 chance of wounding him. And it didn't actually wound him, but it finished him, and that's kind of cool. And other than that, I launched an attack over here, and I was planning on recovering my skirmishers, but they're fine. I think, I don't know how much we're going to do tonight. I think I'm kind of pooped out. I'm watching, as often, videos. I'm watching one on the potential Christ tomb that was found back in the 1980s that they're trying to do some sort of research regarding, which is definitely, it's presenting both sides, but it's, all the people involved in looking for it are really kind of believers in that this is the tomb, but whatever. Yeah, and in terms of the tomb, where the body was moved to and that kind of thing. So it's not really something believers are gonna like much. Although, you know, for some people it's not going to make a damn bit of difference. It doesn't really matter. Just first in this particular case is kind of important. Right now, Jimenez has the initiative, has to pick whatever. They have to pick one of the, I don't know what, it's not really initiative, but they have to pick one of their 4 initiative leaders to use. Now I've got 2 sitting here and 1 over here. For Antigonus, he's got a 4 over here, and I think that's it. So whatever I pick, this will go next. So the big question is, do I want to launch an attack on these phalanxes, or do I want them to come to me? That's an interesting question, because these are in kind of a disrupted situation. They may not be able to attack very well, so we're not going to be able to get a full line attack going. So I think I want to hold. Not sure, because I could launch a complete, you know, a solid attack, but there's no real advantage to attacking that I can think of in this. Which puts me, and there's actually some advantage to defending, because these hoplites here, if they hit the phalanx, are actually at a penalty, so. Which brings me to the cav. So I think I'm going to try to get these cav maneuvered around to try to beat up what's going on there. But we shall see. At the very least, I have some in charge formation that may be hard to maneuver properly, but at least they can frontal attack assault. The complexity of each move, each hex moved when you're hitting something like this, where you've got faster cav, largely able to run away from the heavier stuff. It's just painful. I kind of screwed up, I think. I think I retreated someone who shouldn't have been allowed to, but screw that. But yeah, these lights did most of the retreating, but basically every hex I'm moving, something had an option to run. One of them was an illicit option. Is he a light? I think this guy is the guy who retreated, not this one, so we're good. But this guy retreated as well. This guy could not have retreated in a good way. He would have ended up next to those elephants, and that was just as bad, so he did not. But he also was not fast enough, so. All right, that's one piece I moved, and it took a lot of effort. And I hope Shit, I wasn't in range. Oops. So I will start moving him, and I've got to keep track of how many movement points each when a leader moves, because I can kind of pause the leader to command units. First attack over here, I attempted a trump of the momentum, because preventing this from playing out further would be to my advantage, and I don't really mind losing his activity, because I don't really want to launch the attack. I could clean up my line a little bit, which would have been an option. Another choice would have been to run over and try to trump in with the better cav commander that's actually facing that guy. That might have been the wiser choice. I didn't make that one. After a second momentum, I do what I should have done anyway, which, well, after a second momentum is successful, which is trigger this guy off, and he got him only 1 momentum. I didn't think about trumping in on it. We got some dead showing up. We got a little bit of routing on both sides. This poor archer ran away and got himself lost somewhere in the rocks. Not a great place, and he probably wasn't in that much danger. I'm a little too willing to run, I think. But yeah, and cav battles are painful in this system. That's all I have to say. I should have moved this fucker. I don't know what he was thinking. I hope he's still in range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's not. Yeah, let me move him, I didn't realize I moved him out of range. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's get him there. I want to keep my cluster of cav together because if I can't command it, it's not really useful. All right, that's it for now. I fired off those 2 no momentum leaders, one of which cured some elephants and pulled another elephant out safely, it turned out, and through the phalanx line or hoplite line. And then the other one triggered a line command, but I didn't move the entire line. I moved the right flank of the line, created a gap, which, you know, again, that's part of the problem I had here was, hey, I could launch everything at once. But the thing was, when I looked at the everything at once, I'm looking at hitting phalanxes with hoplites, and that's at a penalty, so I'm like, I don't want to do that. But also here I was a little worried I can't hit the elephants, and I didn't want to leave this line hanging out, so we've got a really weird kind of formation striking here. But basically the push of phalanx against a phalanx and a hoplite, and that's going to throw us over to the lead, to the last officer left, which is Antigonus. Actually, wonder what he's going to do. It's not Antigonus. I got Demetrius hiding over here. There are no 5s on the mini side. The only 6 is already finished. So this actually clears up my problem, because I was trying to decide, does Antigonus want to go over and launch a ragged cav charge to try to break the line up here? And I got to be careful and stay away from the elephants, because that will expose the entire left flank of the Eumenes line. Or am I more interested in the push in the center, where I have the edge of phalanxes hitting hoplites? And if I can break the center, that too would be impressive. Neither of these are certain. With no leadership over here, with leadership kind of dulled over here, both were interesting options. But it looks like I got a chance at doing both. And of course, I forgot about the special little role about the routing until I made contact and ran across that special counter underneath the one unit. I'm like, whoops. A big part of the line just routed from that. And the others, well, Antigonus probably took a little bit more damage than he should have from his attack, but that doesn't matter. He's cleared the cav. The elephants are the only hope here. And, you know, that's quite a hope. A big squad of elephants against a squad of cav. The elephants should win. The only... Yeah. And there's... My elephants are... What's left of them are pounding into the flank of the infantry. But it's the infantry that really matter. I mean, cav are worth a lot of victory points, so don't disparage that, but they can probably get away from the elephants. Antigonus is getting some of his revenge in this battle. Punching through in the center, he ran over here, commanded these to move forward, then ran back here, commanded an elephant to pick off one of them phalanx units from the flank. This is really devastating. You do not want to let an elephant get on your flank. Actual points are not that different, 29 to 34, but positionally, the fact that we've got a wing of cav basically running from the field, that's a lot of points there. He only has 90, and remember, 20 size points of cav off the board is 40 more points. That, you know, if these automatically leave, there's nothing I can do about them. So between those two, if I can get some cav off the board, this is over. Then also these key units here leaving the board. In terms of what actually has been lost, we lost a couple light cav on the Antigonus side. We lost, you know, a hoplite unit in the center here, which is not a good thing. And the general positioning is just not good, I think, for Eumenes. you know, he's cut in the center basically. Not completely. These blues are his. They're aqua. They look the same color as this to me, but but this elephant is not. Wait a minute. I had a low missile on there, I think. Yeah, that's not one of his. Oops. Neat. Yeah, and that's actually really dangerous. And then, you know, this flank seems to be holding up okay. We got the elephants here, which might do a lot to the cav, but I don't know if it's enough. It really looks like this one's going to Antigonus. Okay. Nearchness over here got the initiative, and I need a Trump thing on him. And that's not good, but it was necessary. And launched his elephant another space, did a little bit more, busted up another elephant. Got a continuation, and I'm like, that's unacceptable. That can't keep happening. So Eudemus here made a roll to trump in. That trumps his momentum, but the big deal was he was able to rally units and also launch an elephant. He got a momentum actually, and just one, and launched an elephant and destroyed that elephant. So he did a couple of things back here, some recuperation tasks. I tried to recuperate this damn elephant. It just does not look like it, you know, is an enemy unit because it's stuck there behind the lines. And there's actually a capability to give it commands now because I broke through, so that could be a real problem. Unfortunately, I didn't have anything that could do much about it, which is the real problem. And now I think we jump down to a 4 over on... Nope. We go over to our 3 that we trumped in on. I mentioned this. I found I've been making a big mistake, and I think I've been making it all the way back, which is I use the initiative rating to decide whether or not I can make line commands. That's not what you're supposed to use. I got better on this scenario, but there's this little tiny strategy rating up here that is actually the number that you use to determine whether or not you can make a line command on your own. I just kind of ignored it, I think, ever since I've been playing the GBOH stuff. I don't know if that was present in SPQR, but certainly throughout all the others that I've played, all the Alexander stuff, that rule is present here, and oops, that's a big mistake. Antigenes couldn't do a line command. Too far away, he doesn't have any bonuses. He's got to be within 2, I think. Unless there's a special rule for line commands for elephants. There's a special rule for line commands for elephants somewhere. Antigonus, Nearchus, Eumenes, and Eudemus can issue them at 3 hexes instead of the 2. But Antigenes, who could do it last scenario, can't do it this one. I think he could do it last scenario. That's what I remember. But anyway, we do end up launching attacks and making that cav pay the price for what it did. So 2 cav units are routed away, and that will put us on a 4 over here. And we got a couple of them available, at least. I think that's about it. But yeah, things are developing where you see the weight, you know, the elephants are crushing here, the elephants are crushing here. When they can get loose on Cav or on a flank. The Cav couldn't run away. One of them was a charging Lancers. They can't do the orderly withdrawal. And the other one was in a zone of control, so they can't. That's the danger of having elephants wandering around. The only thing that was a bonus for Antigonus is that this guy got trumped. So, you know, he wasn't able to do a whole hell of a lot. But yeah, he did what he could, really. I mean, the only thing that would have come out of this more is if he could have gotten momentum, maybe pushed his way up and started. But these guys would just run away. So, yeah, I think this was about what he could expect. But now we're seeing the elephant lines rolling up the enemy in both cases and getting, you know, high value units that they're able to attack. So Nicanor here launched a painful series of attacks with a line command and then a follow-up that was not a line. And you can see he routed most of that flank, but he did lose one of his own. That's a big part of the points there. That might be it. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 24, 48 more points. We got 54 here, or 34, 48, 70. Yeah, we're at like 82 out of 90, and there's these points here. So it's probably over. But we don't know. Something could come there, but I think this battle is done. All right, and I'm done for a little while too. Coming back to the system. Now this is something I was used to, and used to even in playing with this, but I had a hell of a time figuring out what happens when both units route from the battle. I knew in my head, hey, the attacker usually has the advantage for that, if they route by the same amount, you know, and everything like that. But I didn't know what happens if it was a standing fight. I thought the defender got the advantage in that. Apparently they do not. I know that they get some kind of advantage. I don't remember what the fuck it was. But anyway, having to look it up was just a pain in the ass. It turns out it's hiding here, not in bold, unlike most, well, I mean, I don't know, some rules are bolder, some are not. The difference between the hits and the TQ. If one or both sides have more that did not reach all units that did so, I don't remember. If as a result, all attacking and defending units would rout, the attacker adds his total hits that he would incur the side that has the most. The defender routes and the attacker advances if allowed, yeah. And his cohesion hits is reduced. And maybe it's different in SPQR, but I thought from a standing position you got the disadvantage in that. You only got the advantage if you had momentum on your side. But apparently not, at least not in this set of rules. Which was actually the thing I was trying to find, but it was a pain in the butt to find. I mean, this is over in the route rules, as opposed, which to me feel more about rallying and recovery than the actual what happens when you hit combat. But I don't know. I guess that particular rule applies to multiple places in the combat where a rout could happen, so it kind of makes sense that it's that way. But anyway, that was very fatiguing. It took me about 5 minutes to find that roll, which isn't too terrible, but it feels like forever. You know, you're in the middle. Yeah, you've got a whole line of units that you're trying to deal with at once, and now you have to look up this one little roll because you're not absolutely certain what it says. I was wrong about what it said. I was in such a hurry to get to bed last night after the routing that happened here. And I don't know if there was something in between. I don't think so, but I'm not sure. I forgot to deal with this at all. Flank attack hitting a leader. It's going to be a little bit complicated. So let me go back and do that. I don't know. That'll probably take up all my time that I want to use here right now. So I had that marked as unmoved. It must have moved to get into that position. So I flipped it over. These guys, I think, were stuck in a fight. This guy was not. All right, so that resolved that, and we'd already failed whatever momentum. So now we're back at, let's pick a 4. Well, this is why I found it. There was a dude engaged in combat who was one of my options to pick. Oh fuck, got myself confused as to the elephants. I gotta undo something. Basically, this elephant tried to attack his own cav in the rear. While that might happen, these guys shot at it and everything, and I'm just gonna undo it all. Ended up more than enough fun. Not only did I screw things up over there, find other things, whatever, but then I got a die roll of doom on my momentum, which caused a crisis of faith, which caused a bunch of those units to just pull back. And this is actually not a bad thing in a sense, because, well, except for Jimenez has to take an activity to get he has to give himself an order to get out of the way there, where he really shouldn't be. I don't generally like my leaders in battle. That tends to be a bad idea. But not so much because they might get killed, which is a factor, but more because then they can't command shit. And that makes, I've already discussed this, it makes it like almost impossible to play Alexander the way he should be played. Like, he's such a good commander, you can't possibly tie him up in a combat. It doesn't matter how good his charisma roll is, bonus is, because that's just a modifier on here, a plus modifier or minus modifier on there. It was just not worth it. And it's certainly not worth chancing his death. But anyway, this allows these units to possibly recover or to launch another attack. I wasn't too thrilled with how they held up so far. The one nice thing, though, is if they do break, you can expend the effort to recover them for whatever that's worth. Not going to make a difference in this game. Yesterday, I went for a long walk and got myself nice and drunk and then passed out. So, I took care of this guy. He basically did some recovery work in the back lines. He can only affect infantry. And now we're kicking over here. I also found out that my online muse is still alive and functional, so at least there's that. Right, and this guy used up, I think, both his momentums. A little bit of rallying, pushed forward with the line, didn't get the result he wanted. This thing made it save. And then I did some elephant chaos and actually cleared quite a bit. 3 elephants were destroyed, a skirmisher, and we got some annoyance factor where some of the cav got screwed up over there. We got a pretty good attack off those elephants. It's not going to mean much in terms of, the quality points, but if it weren't a foregone conclusion that Jimenez was dead in the water already, this would have strengthened his hand in the center quite a bit. Basically, I was reactivating units, which is something I don't do often enough. Hey, there's an opportunity, but I don't notice it because the unit's flipped over, and I'm thinking, I can't go. But, you can take more tactical quality hits. It's like friction points in the Central Front series. I got an excess of 4-point leaders there, and I feel like I need a break. Okay, so we moved to Philip over here, and he launched a couple of elephants. He's not restricted. Actually, he launched one elephant this way, which cleared a couple of enemy elephants due to rampage, whatever. And another one this way in conjunction with some cav and managed to route a couple of these units. You got a continuation. I just trumped in on that. Because allowing him more local activity there is just too dangerous. And a little bit of a counterattack, routed some, otherwise tried to recover units. One of the problems is I was within range of some missile fire, so I couldn't recover the entire line. However, then when I got my momentum check, I had a crisis of faith, and you can see a couple of units pulled back. That throws me over to this side, and again, already I need to stop. I'm just not feeling the, you know, when I was gaming in Phoenix early on with these, I'm not sure what happened eventually, you know, but I know I kind of slowed down. But early on with these, I definitely had the, you know, a battle like this I could rip out in a day, you know. It's a big one, but the whole video would be out in a day. Now I'm just like, I've gotten into very much this, I'll play a couple of pulses and I go away, just like I was doing with Vietnam. It's what I'm doing more and more with every single game. I don't know why. I just don't have the stamina to play more than a little bit at a time. Sometimes have difficulty making decisions to take risks, you know, and have been holding back in this battle. Sometimes I take risks that I really shouldn't. So here, my view is this battle's in my pocket as long as I don't take a lot of losses as Antigonus. However, with this guy's command, I launched a couple of phalanxes against the enemy phalanx units, and I don't see them anymore, so they must be gone. Oh, there was an elephant too. No, it was a phalanx and an elephant. And hitting the phalanx was risky. Hitting the elephant, it was going to be a flank shot, so at worst. And so that seemed reasonable. I also shifted my cav over, and I didn't destroy the enemy phalanx right away, so I threw a cav unit into play to hit it. Oops, I forgot to take that attack on a skirmisher. Uh-oh. What was left was the leaders. Jimenez launched an attack against the two hoplite units or phalanx units in the front of him in the hopes of routing them, and I don't know, maybe that would be good enough, probably not. And then for Antigonus, all I did was actually wiped out a couple of skirmishers. I may have taken a shot with an archer, I don't know. Nothing important. And now it's time to do the routing and count the costs, and I'm expecting this sends the Jimenez player over and not the Antigonus one. Mainly because there's this high value cav route here and an exceedingly high value phalanx and hoplite route. Indeed, when the costs are counted, 143, which is well over his 90, 61, which is well under. And I mean, it is clear that the battle was won anyway. The center was broken here. These elephants were not able to be brought into play. The flank was shifting this way, so I mean, this flank was breaking. Over here, things don't look terribly good. Jimenez was in a lot of trouble. In terms of the actual point value, if we take a look at what, 15, 22, 29, 36, 42, even if we did not count that entire cav retreat, that was, you know, this huge bonus in terms of points, we still had enough points to send them over the edge. Loss of that fighting capability, well, that probably wouldn't change the battle. The battle was decided right here. Those were the points that were created. It might have been possible to do a lot more damage to the Antigonus cavalry However, there's only so much that the leaders who were in charge of the Yemenis cav could have done that was additional. The battle was not right where their cav were. Yeah, there's these guys, and these guys could have gotten cleared out. Let's say, we had routed them all. Well, they'd still be on the field running away. They wouldn't be counting towards the points yet, which feels a little abstract, but whatever. By which I mean hokey. Anyway, that's the end of this one. Definitely had a very, very different feel from that previous one, not just because of mistakes that I made, but mainly because there was enough room between the two armies. They weren't in a position where whoever kind of won the die roll got a bonus in terms of like getting that first strike with the elephants or whatever. So this one feels like a much more interesting battle. Give me a couple more hexes in that other one, and it becomes the same kind of standoff situation where, although, to be honest, what ends up happening, at least when I play, is first person doesn't launch their attack because, or doesn't move forward, because if they do so, they put themselves at risk. Second person moves forward, and you end up with that same die roll in terms of the effect. The difference, though, was the elephant hit wasn't as impressive, and that may be because I'm playing correctly. It may be for other reasons instead, though. So if you recall, I wasn't doing the punch through with the elephants. I don't know what the overall effect of that was. It just felt like the elephants did less damage this time. Like maybe I rolled better the first one or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, let's send this one up. What the hell? I got the name already loaded up. And we may take a little break from these Diadochoi, or Diadochoi, in order to play something a little different. And no, not the 18XX game I just got.